Are we witnessing the Bloober Team redemption arc, people?
I am here for you, James.
Because lately it sure seems that way. With just over a week to wait now to get our little mittens on the Silent Hill 2 remake, I wanted to give some final predictions on what I think the review scores might be, and the general reception from the audience, and what it means for the series going forward. From what we've seen so far, and let's be honest, it's been quite a lot at this point, with all the story beats being largely in the same places as the original, we really only have to be concerned about the delivery of the story, be it the voice work, the facial capture, or the cinematography. So far, for me at least, the characters talking to each other and interacting with each other look to be like one of this game's main strengths. And I know a lot of the fans from the original are going to miss that sort of David Lynch-esque delivery of the dialogue, but I think that being a charm of the original in the form of a PS2 game in the era that it came out, I really just don't think it would work very well for this remake, because it's clear that the delivery and the voice acting caliber in this new version seem to be a lot more in line with modern productions. And no, I don't mean modern productions as in written by a fat chick with blue hair who hates men, but modern in terms of professionalism with the voice work and the facial capture, so that the actors can really put their sort of emotions and their stamp on it using the more modern technology for game production. That kind of modern. I especially love the sound of the new James. He's been brought to life in a way that I really didn't expect from a Silent Hill 2 remake, and I cannot wait to go on his journey again in this new way. I'm not totally convinced with Maria at this point, but I'm just sort of hoping that she might win me over in the end.
Monica Hogan's voice work is too powerful!
Eddie just sounds brilliant. I feel his new voice actor is sticking closer to the original voice work, more so than the rest of the cast, and he's doing a great job at it. I even like the new Angela. Who would have thought, eh? She's got a distinct tone to her voice, and it will be interesting to see, especially when we get to that abstract daddy boss battle. And for those concerned about how she looked when they first sort of revealed her, Bloober Team have changed the camera angle from that one clip where she's like, "I'm not lying," and then her face looks completely atrocious. They have addressed it and they have changed it. I'll just play it here so you can see the difference.
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
Let's go.
嘘じゃない。
So it looks way better now, and I'm not really worried about it anymore. So the story elements look like they're at least an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9 out of 10. But the gameplay is where it's going to really count, and that's probably where it's going to potentially lose marks for when it comes to critic reviews. Because initially when we saw this game in motion, I just had this horrible sense of dread, and not the good kind of dread that Silent Hill tends to impose on the player, more just like dread that Bloober Team had learnt nothing from the criticism of their past work. The animations looked terribly rudimentary, the combat looked like bootleg The Last of Us with mid-2000s layers of jank on top of it. I mean, acid splatters on the screen in 2024, it's embarrassing. But since that combat reveal, every time they've shown the game, it looks better and better. It really feels like Konami and Bloober had been hearing us and they made changes to bring it more in line with our expectations, such as the option to remove all of the UI elements, and yes, that includes those horrendous acid splatters on the screen, and the exploration of new areas of the town really looked to sort of flesh out the parts of the original game that previously blocked your entry. Because what and I'm sure you've done it as well, when you were to think about what would a Silent Hill 2 remake even mean and what would it even be like, and how would you add to it like an almost perfect framework without taking anything away? Well, one of the easiest things I thought would be like to just let us explore more of the town in those kind of like open worldy sections. Like let me go into more of the buildings, let me get some more tidbits and lore about the town itself, because the story is very much a James story in Silent Hill 2, but there are little bits like the Walter Sullivan articles and things like that where you learn a little bit more about Silent Hill in general. So if they could do more of that, which it looks like they're going to do, like I'm all in on that. They also announced on Twitter already that not only are all of the endings from the original game present in this remake, but they've also added some new ones too. And what these new endings are and the conditions that need to be met to get them is still unclear, but I mean, new endings. Now all they need to do is say that we can unlock new outfits. Let us unlock James's original costume with the patches on his jacket and Maria's Christina Aguilera hooker outfit, please, thank you. The combat has looked much better since it was first revealed too, and we know Silent Hill isn't all about combat, but it is there and it does happen a fair bit. So it being panicky and satisfying to use is important to get right, as it will pull a new audience of people who didn't play the original and hopefully start to grow a younger fan base. So with all that said, I think the gameplay will probably get scored around a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It will probably lose marks because there's weird things like muzzle flashes looking kind of naff, and the way that the camera and James recoil from firing shots does look a bit amateurish at times. But the exploration looks really intriguing, and there are a bunch of new puzzles as well. Like, I recently watched the presentation they did at Tokyo Game Show, and it was in the Brookhaven Hospital, but it's like, there was a bunch of new key items, and like the map looked familiar, but it was different. So I can see us all getting lost again when we're playing it for the first time, and that's a really cool prospect. Not being able to just know instantly where to go and what to do to progress, kind of like how you might visit somewhere in a dream. You know somehow that it's a certain place, even when the architecture is different and there are like new rooms that don't exist in the real world versions. Next up is the music, and this is quite an easy and short section to analyze, to be honest. It's Akira Yamaoka. He's a god. We don't deserve him. This is just a froth section, to be honest, because every track we've heard glimpses of so far sound absolutely brilliant. Silent Hill official YouTube channel has even put a bunch of teasers out for every track on this new soundtrack, and I listened to it earlier. It's like 40 minutes long, but oh my god, it's so good. And I'm so glad that I bought the deluxe version of the game, not just for the early access to the game, but you get the whole soundtrack digitally, and I can't wait to listen to it all with headphones. Music is easily going to be a 10 out of 10. So what do I think the general review scores for this game are going to be? Considering everything we've just gone through, I would say the game could easily score an 8 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10. I mean, let's be honest, IGN are probably going to give it a 7 because that's just their sort of MO at the moment. It all depends on how this game sticks its landing and if the gameplay doesn't wear itself out with the longer runtime. Remember, this is expected to take 16 to 18 hours for a first playthrough. That's a hell of a long time. I mean, that's like at least 5, 6, maybe 7 hours longer than a first playthrough of the original game. So you're going to want to hope that it stays gripping for that long, otherwise it could lose marks for being unnecessarily bloated. So from everything we've seen so far, for me at least, it looks like a 9 out of 10 game, but then maybe I'm biased because I'm a manic Silent Hill fan. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to review this game from a sort of neutral third party. But this game scoring well, resonating well with the players will be a huge win for the franchise, and it could pave the way for even more remakes of the original games. I know some of you don't want that, you want new games, but there are a lot of people that want 1 and 3 and 4 remade. But arguably, most importantly, securing Silent Hill's return to glory. We haven't had a good Silent Hill game since Silent Hill 4 The Room. And Bloober have shown a lot of love that they have for the original game, even down to things like the disc for the game on PS5. And I have been pretty harsh on them in some of my previous videos, but that is only because I haven't liked a single one of their games, and they were set to remake my favorite game of all time, so obviously I'm going to be a bit precious about it. But now I'm like ready to go into this as open-mindedly as I possibly can, and they're ticking boxes for me personally. But anyway, what do you think of the predictions, guys? I reckon it's going to be an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9 out of 10. What do you think? What things are you most excited about? What things are you most concerned about? Please like the video for me, share it about if you want to, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see ya when I'm looking at ya.